Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Elizabeth Matthews. I am the Waiver Support Coordinator Liaison for the State Office at APD. I am so excited to have you all with us today. We have a wonderful presentation that I think is absolutely necessary for all of us. So thank you so much for joining and showing interest. Today we have Dr. Kristen Karinko and Dr. Martha Mason with us. Some of you may have joined their previous trainings. We had trauma-informed care and a suicide awareness training just a few months ago, and we received so much positive feedback from you all when you joined those trainings that we decided coping with stress during challenging times would be the perfect topic to close out this crazy year we have been having. So for those who may not have been a part of our previous trainings with Dr. Karinko and Dr. Mason, you guys are in for a treat. They are wonderful presenters. They come with a wealth of knowledge, and their background and experience is just enormous. So I appreciate them, and I hope that you all find something useful and meaningful to you and your work with our clients. For those who are joining today for continuing education credit, as always, I will provide that information at the end of the training, so please stay on to get that information and direction. It is 1.5 training credits for today. So if that's something you need or you're looking for, we will have that available to you. So without further ado, I will pass this over to Dr. Mason. She is driving the show today. So Dr. Mason, it's all you.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth, and thank you everyone for being here today. I know you're very busy, and I hope this presentation will have some meaning for you. I am Dr. Martha Mason. I'm the State Office Psychologist with the Agency for Persons with Disabilities. And Dr. Karinko, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Sure. Good morning, everybody. And again, thank you for joining us. Happy Friday. And go Knowles. Sorry, have to do it. Okay. Thank you so much for joining us. I know we've had the pleasure of meeting before, and we were very excited to hear that we had over 500 people pre-register for our training. So again, we know that it's a timely topic, and the nice thing about it is you'll be able to go back and reference this at your leisure in the future. I know Dr. Mason has done trainings, I've done trainings, and now we're kind of like the Wonder Twins active, or no, do it this way, Wonder Twins activate. Now you get the best of both worlds, I believe, and we are very excited to be with you this morning. So now I'm going to toss it back to Dr. Mason, who's going to kick it off.
So we will get started. If my computer will agree, we will get started.
Technology is a beautiful thing, and having a warped sense of humor, definitely a coping strategy. So,
right. So let's talk about the main subject here, chronic stress. Why do you feel this way? What is it? So, and I can let you read for yourself. I don't want to do that for you. I think all of us pretty much know what chronic stress is, but what you don't know, or maybe you know, is that we are kind of built to respond to stressors in our environment. So prehistoric man would feel it physiologically in his body whenever he heard the rustle in the bush and maybe there was danger approaching. Your heart rate increases, adrenaline floods your body, and you get ready to fight or flee. And this is how we're made. But we're not quite so made for the chronic stressors that we have today. The job, pressures of family, different types of stresses that weigh on us. This is where the chronic stress comes from. But your body doesn't quite realize that there aren't dangers in the bush, and it still responds in the same way. And over time, the anxiety, the stress hormones, the things that happen to your body can really cause a lot of emotional, psychological problems. And that's why we're here today, to kind of go over that and some ways that you can reduce that anxiety. And you will hear me use chronic stress and anxiety kind of interchangeably today because they are so similar. To me, chronic stress is just chronic anxiety. So not only do we have stressors of job, but we have obviously the pandemic. That has meant a change in life for so many of us. Social isolation being a big one, especially now with the holidays coming up and trying to figure out how can we be with the people that we love without exposing them and things like that. Holidays also mean a lot of stress. Trying to take off from work when you're so busy and take care of other people. And I think a lot of people are experiencing loneliness right now when they can't be with others. Not only that, we have a double whammy then of the political divide that has so influenced our country. I've heard people tell me that they've lost friends. They've stopped talking to family members. I think it's really important with this stressor that you try to find common ground, try to be curious about the views of other people, because your family and your friends, they are that for a reason. So I think we should all be respectful of each other's views and try not to make it so divisive. We all share commonalities, and to find that and be curious about why people think the way that they do, that can start to help you repair, I think, some broken relationships with friends or family members. Kristen, do you want to talk about this one? You want me to keep going?
Sure, I can take this.
Sure.
Okay, thanks. Why
So,
is it all happening? Yeah, I mean it's a lot of people with the pandemic, with COVID, with the political climate, the social injustice climate, um, getting all of this information, Zoom fatigue, information overload, how much, how little is accurate. Since we're talking to an audience of waiver support coordinators, your job is critical. And we know that you have this higher level of stress because at the end of the day, it begins and ends with you making sure that that individual has all of those services and supports that they desperately need and have been authorized to receive. So taking all of that into consideration, all of these stressors may make you frustrated, stressed, and quite honestly, a lot of people have been reporting anger, having fleeting feelings of anger and blame, where they're looking at all of these issues where they're wrestling with struggles. They're looking at, well, why me? Why is this happening? Feelings of persecution, whether your whatever your spiritual belief is, looking at feeling victimized, feeling in a one down position, having moral interactions or moral challenges and disagreements, not only internally but also externally. It makes you challenge your moral fabric and fiber. Looking for deeper meaning, that's helpful to go ahead and look outside of oneself in order to find that comfort, that calm, and you can do so in healthy ways and not so healthy ways. We obviously reinforce and encourage healthy ways of self-expression and mindfulness. Accepting does not mean necessarily being happy about situations. I've dealt with a lot of consumers and clients over the years who said, I don't understand the process of grief. It says denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. I'm still upset that that person is gone. A loss is a loss, okay? And a lot of times when you experience these steps in the grieving process, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're happy. It means that you've accepted the loss and you're at a stage of peace. Reframing those struggles as opportunities. I know we have a quote at the end of this just reminding that. Out of crisis breeds an opportunity, okay? And being able to really look at that will also speak to resilience. You, as a critical, influential, and I often tell people you're a green M&M, and what I mean by that is you are the person that's coming into these consumers' lives, and you are the one that they see more often than perhaps some of the service providers. So having that ability to really reframe and take this as an opportunity and pivot is critical. You not only for your consumers, but also for yourselves as well. Your sense of meaning. I know with the Senate Bill 82 promulgation and the overlay of the new rules and regs that are coming down, it can make you quite uncomfortable and stressed. I get it, we get it, okay? Finding that sense of meaning. Well, what is the purpose? What is my role here? What can I do to aspire and reinforce the spirit of what needs to happen? And then draw on those coping strategies. You got them, okay? We as Americans have been through stuff. We as Floridians have been through multiple traumas, okay? We got this. We got this. Pull from those coping resources and strategies that you have. And having a sense of hope. That doesn't mean that you're being unrealistic, okay? There's 2 vaccines that are coming, all right? There's an opportunity for changes in restructuring that will, at the end of the day, improve and enhance what you do. I get it. We may see things as a little labor intensive in order to get things going, but once it gets going, it will reinforce that sense of hope that you have. Okay.
Thank you. And just to kind of, before we move on from this, this article is included and we're going to provide it in our resources, but it is very common during challenging times for people to question their faith or their spirituality, whatever that may be, and there can be guilt from that, but that is quite normal, and to try to just accept that as normal and explore your beliefs and things like that and try to fit that into this schema of what's going on right now with an accepting attitude. That's really important. So the big
I love this. I love this. I love this picture.
Yeah, because it looks like my desk, for sure.
Hello.
So work stress is quite common. And then we have all these other whammies that we just talked about. But it's when you feel like your work demands exceed what you can do and the resources that you have. I bet a lot of you out there are saying, yeah, you're right. So what can you do about it, Kristen?
Well, you got to set boundaries. One of the hardest things that, and some of you I've had the pleasure of working with in my previous life, right? And I know the diehards. I mean, there's been a couple that have been retired a couple of years now, but I know you guys, a lot of times you will go above and beyond with what your consumers need. And a lot of times we go above and beyond in our personal lives as well. If we have a friend in need, we got into this field because we care. Pure and simple. We are compassionate, empathic human beings, right? And doing so, sometimes we sacrifice those personal boundaries. And sometimes we let people kind of run right up to that boundary line and jump all over it. you need to set those boundaries for yourself, and sometimes they may be further out and sometimes they may be closer in. So setting those boundaries and complying with those. Prioritize. If you are a jack of all trades and a master of none, I get that too, okay? We can't be all things to all people. So we have to prioritize what is the important task, what is the important endeavor that is encompassing or detracting or attracting my attention right now. Another one, asking for help is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of strength. I know Dr. Mason and I both talk frequently with the regional operations managers and the deputies as well. And I had one in particular recently say to me, I'm so scared about asking for help because I don't want people to perceive that as weakness. Asking for help is a sign of strength. Do it, okay? And take care of yourself. At the end of the day, you have to have that full cup. You know, we talk about you can't pour into someone else's cup if you're pouring from an empty cup, okay? You got to have a full cup. So at the end of the day, you need to make sure you're doing all of those self-care strategies. It doesn't have to be an exorbitant resource or very, very costly either. Sometimes, I know for me, just sitting on my back deck with my 3 fur babies, right? Being able to sit and watch a football game that has a good ending, right? Those of you that are Dolphin fans, you know what I'm talking about, okay? And that is an ability for me to just disconnect and detach. And I know we all have that. We all have these self-care strategies that we implement and do. And basically, we have to be mindful of those. Okay.
So this is going to be a theme, just to piggyback off what Kristen said, that's going to, I hope, resonate with you. I think that probably about 90% of us are either thinking about what happened in the past or we're thinking about what happened in the future. And we don't think about where we are right now and what we're doing. And I bet there's some of you out there right now who are listening to this presentation and you're answering emails or you're texting or because you're so busy and you know you have all these things to do. And what we're really going to focus on is how important it is to be in the present moment, to be focused on what you're doing. Because when you're thinking about the past or you're thinking about the future, today is gone. You're not giving it your ultimate, your full attention. And I know there's so many things that we all have to think about, that we're worried about, things that we have to do, but you know those things will get done. When you focus truly on what you're doing right in front of you on your present moment, whether that's self-care, attending to a client that needs you, you are going to be better at your job. You're going to be better as a person, feel better as a person, and you're going to be less stressed. Okay.
Agreed.
So
Yeah.
yes, stress affects your well-being in so many ways. Emotionally, you can get irritable, snappish. That doesn't make you feel good. It doesn't make the people around you feel good. It leads to miscommunications psychologically, and that's so intertwined with the emotion, but lack of sleep and just feeling run down, feeling like you're not capable. If you're prone to have anxiety anyway, or things like that, or depression, that can make it worse. Some people resort to drinking or some medications to try to sleep, and you just don't feel quite your best. And again, socially, it can have such an impact on those around you, and that just kind of comes back to you.
Mm-hmm.
So
and remember, social distancing is a misnomer. It's physical distancing that we want to reinforce in order to deal with the pandemic. But socially distancing is such a misnomer. We need to stay connected. Okay.
Absolutely. So try to remember this acronym, and that's NOW. So notice, where is your attention? Are you focused in now? Or are you thinking about, how am I going to get dinner done? I'm so tired, or I've got all this laundry to do. Observe what you're doing, what you're feeling. And a wise mind is just a present focused mind. What now? Am I going to attend to what I'm actually doing? Am I just going to be? Am I going to give my mind a break? But try to stay focused in the present moment as much as you can.
Agreed. Okay.
So we're going to do an exercise right now, and I would like for everyone, wherever you are, just to try to turn off the email, put down the phone, and just really focus on this breathing exercise that we're going to do. Okay, so find a comfy place to sit if you can. You can even lay on the floor if you're working from home, or if you're in your office, have some privacy. And I want you to just try to focus your attention on your body, what you're feeling. Are you feeling stressed? Are your shoulders hunched? Try to just relax your shoulders. Take a few deep breaths, because I'm gonna teach you how to tummy breathe or do a diaphragmatic breath, okay? And while I'm going over this exercise, I don't want you to think about, well, I won't remember this or I won't learn it, because we have those resources that you can refer to later. I want you to just be present, focused, and just do it the best you can. Sometimes it takes practice, and just enjoy taking some deep breaths and just focusing on yourself right now, okay? All right, so if everyone's comfortable and relaxed and focused, what I would like for you to do is take one hand and put it on your chest, and take the other hand, you can't really see my tummy, but I'm going to put it over my tummy or my diaphragm, okay? So when we're really anxious, we breathe a lot from our upper lungs, and sometimes our breaths are really shallow, okay? Everyone knows how to do a diaphragmatic breath, because if you've ever slept, you do this in your sleep, okay? So when you're sleeping, you're breathing down into your diaphragm, you're breathing slow and easy. So if you ever catch yourself kind of waking up in the morning, just pay attention to how you're breathing. You're doing a tummy breath. Sometimes if you're laying on the floor, people will practice, they'll put a book on their stomach, and you can see that hand on your stomach rising up and down. That's how you know you're doing it right, because you want to see the hand on your stomach go up more than this hand on your chest. Then you know you're getting that air all the way down into your diaphragm like you're supposed to. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of just let all that air out of your lungs, and we're going to take a deep breath for a count of 4. And just hold it for a second and let that out for a count of 4 all the way out. And do it one more time. And let it all out. And that is simply what I call a tummy breath, okay? The next video that I'm going to show you is taking that breath, and it's doing something called square breathing or combat breathing. And this is a wonderful technique to lower your heart rate, your blood pressure, and to help reduce anxiety. For people that have panic attacks, this is a wonderful exercise because it gets you to focus on the counting of the breath and taking those deep tummy breaths, and that can be very distracting from anxiety and can help you focus on your body and relax yourself, okay? These things take practice, so if it doesn't come to you naturally, have no fear, you can get this. But square breathing essentially, and they'll go over it in the video, you're doing that diaphragmatic breath for a count of 4, and then you're holding it for a count of 4, and then you're exhaling for a count of 4, and then holding your breath again for a count of 4 before you take that next breath, okay? There are a lot of great breathing techniques out there. Some of you may have heard of the 4-7-8 technique and things like that. You can Google them and find them on the internet. I think the 4-7-8 technique is really good as well. And I would recommend doing these types of exercises at least once or twice a day. Taking some time out for yourself, doing a little meditation, practicing some breathing exercises. I think it makes a huge difference in your stress level. So without any further ado, we will go to our video.
This next grounding activity is called square breathing. And square breathing can be helpful for a couple of reasons. One, because our breath is connected to both the part of our nervous system that we can control and the part of our nervous system that is automatic. So it helps us access that calming part of our brain kind of in through the back door. The other thing about square breathing is if you practice it with varying lengths of breaths, then you can practice putting yourself into a slightly anxiety-provoking situation, which is being out of breath. But you're doing it intentionally in such a way that something that would normally be anxiety-provoking or uncomfortable becomes something that you can handle with willingness. So you are basically converting something that might have been stressful into something that is very comfortable. And that trains your brain to believe that you have the ability to convert something that's stressful into something that's beneficial for you. So let me just explain square breathing really quickly. So with square breathing, you imagine yourself breathing along a square. So you imagine yourself starting at the top right corner of the square, and you imagine yourself breathing in for 4 seconds. And then you imagine yourself holding that breath for 4 seconds. And then you imagine yourself breathing out, so exhaling for 4 seconds. And then holding that air out for 4 seconds. And you're back to the top of the square. And you repeat that 4 times. So breathe in, 2, 3, 4. So you're breathing in that whole time, holding it for 4 seconds, breathing out for 4 seconds. You're exhaling for 4 seconds. And then you're staying without breath for 4 more seconds. So just like that. When you exhale, you want to have all the breath out that you can have out. So you want to be completely out of breath. When you're done with your inhale, you want to be completely full of breath. And the other two are the process of getting in and out. Now you can lengthen the amount of time that you're doing these inhales and exhales and holding. So you can lengthen it out to 8 seconds or 10 seconds or 16 seconds. But when you lengthen the amount of time that you're out of breath, you're going to cause your brain to panic for a little bit. And that's where you can kind of challenge yourself to increase your comfort with being out of breath. So really, there's 2 ways to do this activity. The first way is to just stay at 4 seconds. Breathe in for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, breathe out for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds. And that's just going to be kind of naturally calming because it's creating a rhythm. And the other way you can do this is to challenge yourself to lengthen the amount of time you're holding that breath. And that's going to be a little bit more of a mental challenge that creates more resilience. So as you do this activity, just watch yourself and pay attention to the emotions that come up. So paying attention to your breath is going to help you stay centered and grounded while various emotions go through you. I hope this video was helpful. Thanks for watching and take care. Hi, everyone. I'm excited to announce that my
All right. I hope everyone enjoyed that and found it helpful to take a breath break there. So, Kristen, do you want to talk a little bit about some of these things?
Sure. Okay. Yes, the breathing exercises are definitely helpful because what it does is it grounds you. Okay. And we talk about being emotionally grounded, spiritually grounded, and physically grounded. And that really just captures that now, that we've been talking about. It is manageable. Okay. We know that there are ways, there are strategies, there are behavioral strategies and emotional strategies, hacks, if you will, that will help you move your way through this pandemic, navigate stress on a daily basis. I know we had alluded to this comment or this quote earlier. Albert Einstein, he's a very smart guy. In the middle of difficulty lies opportunity. You have the ability to pivot. As behavior analysts, we talk about pivoting, right? And what you need to do is take the opportunity, look at the lay of the land, and really be able to take a step back and say, not get caught up in the negativity, not get caught up in the doomsayer mentality of it all, but look really, really hard and fast and carefully at how we can move forward. So some of the ways that we suggest that have worked with other folks, we want to share those with you. One of the ways in which, to really be mindful and stay in the moment, you start each day with gratitude, you end each day with gratitude. We realize this is a learned behavior. This is something that is something you need to commit to each day. On some days, it may be more challenging to find those items of gratitude than others, but they're there. You just have to look. You have to be able to see, okay? You have to listen for them very, very carefully. I personally use the gratitude journal as well. And just looking at mindful meditation and looking at staying connected, we talked about the difference between physical distancing and social distancing and how challenging situations. I know the CDC just this morning came out with not so much a travel ban, but a guidance in refraining, basically saying we refrain from traveling over Thanksgiving. So what do? Okay, well, you pivot. And we realize by now Zoom fatigue has set in, right? But what are you grateful for? The people that you're connecting with on the other end are there. They may not physically be close to you, but you can connect with them, okay? Looking at your consumers, we are so proud of our provider network and the Waiver Support Coordinator network throughout the state because you guys rock. You have really stepped forward and really safeguarded our individuals and leaned forward to make sure that they stay safe. That is something that we're grateful for each and every day because we know what that takes. That takes dedication, and it takes a lot of dedication and a lot of effort on your part, and we're thankful for that. So you may not necessarily be able to be grateful for things that are within your world, but taking a step out and looking at the general environment, you can derive your gratitude from other sources. Okay.
I think we went over some of this, Kristen.
Yeah, your feelings, your emotions, your thoughts, your sleep deprivation, your all of those things. A lot of people think, oh my God, I'm going crazy. No, you're not. The situation, the pandemic is abnormal. We talk about post-traumatic stress disorder and reactions to traumatic events. I know there's an excellent TED Talk by Dr. Nadine Burke-Harris where she talks about constantly, we had alluded to the overstimulation of your biological systems earlier. Your reactions are typical. The pandemic is abnormal, okay? Reaching out and communicating and limit negativity, limit social media, okay?
Social media.
Yes, please. Yeah. It's wonderful for your birthday, right? Because if you've got something like, 200 Facebook friends, okay, yeah, I'm Facebook, I know I'm old school, okay? And it's wonderful on your birthday to get all the happy birthday chimes and everything else. It's better than Hallmark, right? But in terms of looking at accuracy and credible sources of information, yeah, it's not so great. Okay, so limit the negativity, limit the access to the negativity, replace misinformation with credible information, and recognize that we're all human. We all are not perfect, okay? We all make mistakes, and we are just trying to move forward. So reach out and communicate, and there are so many resources that we'll access or we'll highlight in a little bit, just so that you know where they are. Martha?
Yeah, so again, and we've touched on this, you are the most important tool for your job. And I know everyone's heard of the old adage about how if you're on an airplane with your child and something happens and the oxygen mask dropped down, you have to grab that oxygen mask for yourself first, because you can't help your child get oxygen and help if you're not capable. So you really, that's a good analogy, because if you are depleted, if you don't really take care of yourself, you're not going to really be that effective in helping other people. So you have to kind of practice what you preach and take care of yourself first. Now, you can't just change your whole life. You still have to go to work. You still have stressors and things like that. But you can weave little things into your day, like the breathing, and some of the, we're going to give you a few ideas here that can make such a difference in your life and help you be more attuned to yourself and your happiness. So one thing I think is so fun is a dance party, just to have a dance party with your family or friends, or even a virtual dance party. You get exercise, it's fun, you can share it with people. So music is wonderful and can be very uplifting. So I think I've seen some people do that, and I've even prescribed that to some of my families too that are going through some difficult times when I was doing mostly therapy. And it can really just get you focused not on your problems, but just more on the fact that you love each other and like to be around each other.
Mm-hmm. Singing works too.
Yes, yes.
Definitely.
I think, those adult coloring books, Kristen, are so popular, I think, for a reason, because when you are being creative or doing something else, you are so now focused, so in the present, because you're so focused on that, you can't be thinking about the past or the future. You're focused exactly on what you're doing. So I like to paint rocks, and I'll do that, every now and then. I'll do that for about 30 minutes or so. And to me, it's so relaxing, because I'm just thinking about the colors and the patterns that I'm doing. I'm not thinking about anything else. And it really gives your brain a break from focusing on all the problems and things you have to do, just to take that time for yourself and be creative.
Right.
And Kristen, you talked about the gratitude journal. That's a big one.
Yes.
And I think that is so helpful to so many people, because there are truly things that no matter how bad it gets, that we can think to be grateful for. But sometimes when the world is kind of topsy-turvy like it is right now, it's really hard to think about that, because we're so focused on negativity.
Mm-hmm.
So just to really refocus every now and then, especially like Kristen said, when you're waking up or before you go to bed, I think that is a wonderful suggestion. And it can just keep you refocused on the things in your life that we can truly be thankful for.
Right. One thing my grandfather always used to say, and I quote him a lot, I'm alive, above ground, and kicking. How about you? So anytime anybody asks me, how am I doing? I say, I'm alive, above ground, and kicking.
Right.
And it also, again, sense of humor, total coping strategy, and just shifts. If you can get somebody to smile and laugh, kids do it all the time when they're confronted with bullies. If you can get them to laugh, that's huge. Okay, so if you can get somebody to laugh, it not only helps them perhaps deal with their day, but it also helps you, and you can be grateful for that.
Absolutely.
And I love this, the emergency
Yes.
bag.
Do you want to talk about the emergency bag?
Sure, sure. We talk about toolboxes. We talk about takeaways, right? Every time you've attended a training, what has always been done, and by the way, I just went ahead and put the link for the TED Talk with Dr. Nadine Burke-Harris in the chat. So I encourage you. She is phenomenal, and I'm so excited I get to hear her at ABAI later next year. But this emergency bag, it's all of those strategies that you can go to. It's your go-to, okay? I know in ICFs, which was my background, we talked about getting a go bag ready. A go bag is what you're going to take when you're going out the door in order to deal with whatever it is that's come up that particular day. This emergency bag taps into all of those senses, those sensory memories that you want to really instill. Vision, hearing, smell, taste, and touch. I mean, just as an example, and I'll show you this. I keep a bottle of lavender, lavender lotion, because what that does is I like to go get massages. That's my coping strategy. And when I go ahead and I put that lavender on my, on my hands, it jets me back to a relaxed, calm state when I'm going through massages. So that's smell. Your taste. It's timely. We've got Thanksgiving, okay? So even though you may not be able to be physically together, cooking the same recipes that your grandparents or your parents have passed down to you. I know, covered dishes is something that I know most workplaces in different areas thrive on. Unfortunately, this year it's taken on a different way, but tuning into those tastes, those comfort foods. Touch is a double-edged sword, and I realize that with the pandemic, we're kind of touch deficient, right? The hug hormone, as everybody refers to it, we're deficient in that. I can't wait. When this is all over, everybody I see is getting a hug. You're going to have to deal with it, okay? But putting all of those cues and being able to tab into, okay, tag them in as you need them is so incredibly important. This way, when your anxiety is up here, I'm just going to grab my bag. And it doesn't have to be a physical bag, right? It can be something that maybe you set it up on your phone. Yeah, okay, I know, FSU. You set it up on your phone and you put it on an intermittent schedule. I know. It sets off, it chimes in, hey, check your bag. And this way, you're the only one that gets that cue. Have you checked in today? What are you grateful for today? That's all of those strategies that you can put in your emergency bag. It's got to be something that's specific to you. It can't just be a generic emergency bag, because if we don't have your buy-in, you don't buy into it, then it's not going to work. So it's got to be something for you. It could be a picture of your loved one or your fur babies. Okay.
Excellent. Yes. And I like it, when people like have a little box, that they have. And I think it's so important because it's a very important concept to realize is that when you are really stressed, it's hard to think about the things that you need to do, all these things that we're talking about to take care of yourself. Because as stress and anxiety go up, your rational thinking goes down. It's difficult to think and plan. Your executive functioning, it goes to crap. So if you have this bag or box, if you will, to go to in times like that where anxiety is just super high, and Kristen had some great ideas about the lotion. It could be a perfume, it could be a bag of calming tea that you keep in there to remind you, let's take a break and have a cup of tea, or pictures of past vacations or places that you want to go to in the future, some nice music to remind you to listen to Headspace on your phone, whatever it is, those things can cue you to relax and engage in some of your self-care. So we keep talking about resources on the website, so I want to make sure that everyone knows how to get there. So I'm going to try not to mess this up. I'm not sure where it's going to go. All right, can everyone see that?
Yeah, looks great.
Okay. So this is the page on our website where we're going to put a lot of resources for you, things that we've been talking about. Let me show you how to get there. If you are on our homepage, right here under COVID-19, it says click here for information concerning COVID-19 for families, providers. So you just click there and you click on mental health and it takes you right here to this page.
We have our own tab. Yeah, we rock.
So a lot of these resources are absolutely wonderful. I think that if it's not here already, Dr. Karenko has an excellent manual about coping with stress and anxiety that she's made available to put on here. Yes, it's very
Yeah.
linked, so you might want to download that. One of our past presentations, not this one, is on here. It's a lot shorter, but if you wanted to refer to that again, you could. So there's that. So remember, stay in the present. Today will go away and it will never come back again. So try to stay in the present. Take some time every day to breathe. Take some time every day to do something that will uplift you, that will care for you. And when all else fails, grab that emergency bag when you need it.
And thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, thank you, thank you for your dedication, your service to the consumers, stakeholders, and families in the state. And thank you for everything that you do. You save lives every day. You got to take care of yourselves. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Karenko. Thank you, Dr. Mason. We do have a few minutes before the close of our call. So I wanted to touch on a few comments that came in through the chat, and any questions or comments that anyone has that they haven't sent in, please go ahead, send those in, and we'll try to address them in our short amount of time that we have. But some of the earlier comments that I was reading, a lot of people were asking about mental fog and being able to think clearly, just overall that topic. Do you have suggestions specific to how to handle that and what to do when you're feeling foggy?
Yes, so that really touches on a couple of slides ago. You know, when the stress is high, you can't think as clearly, you know. So when your anxiety is really high, that's why, especially if that's going on for a while, okay, that's why you kind of feel psychologically, we talked about those symptoms. So the mental fog, forgetting things that you knew just yesterday, trouble finding the words for things, or, oh, I knew that. You know, I've had some people under such anxiety that they thought, and their families thought, that they had dementia even. That's how impactful it can be. And once their anxiety went down and we got a control of that, they realized that they didn't. So it can really impact you to that extent. So what I recommend really, if you're going through that, and it's very frustrating and it can even be scary, is to make sure that you really start using some of these coping strategies every day and try to reduce that anxiety. You really do need to take care of yourself and really catch yourself when you are not being present focused.
Right.
So yeah, all of these things should help reduce that stress and help reduce that brain fog.
And just to piggyback on that, the handout that we've made available, and it will be on the tab, the page as well, is if you look at pages 51 to 54, where we talk about grounding. grounding it shifts that focus that Dr. Mason was talking about as well. So if you're someone who needs a visual cue as to how to do that, there's ways in which you can emotionally ground, physically ground. It reinforces the references and resources on the deep breathing and how to really practice mindfulness. Mindfulness is a state of being. It's not just sitting on your floor Taylor style doing deep breathing and saying om. Okay, it's an actual behavioral repertoire that you need to be in that moment and literally be in that moment. So this will help guide you as well.
And just one other thing, I know people think they don't have time to do this or whatever. Everyone can take a 10-minute, 15-minute break twice a day. It's only going to make you more productive, more successful. It's going to make you feel better. Literally, those breaks are not going to affect your work. They're not. They're only in positive ways. So everyone can take the time. And I am as guilty as anyone else of getting caught up in my work and forgetting. So I actually set a timer on my phone. It's very pleasant. It's chimes that go off, and they remind me to go take a yoga break and stretch, and then take another break, and I'll go outside and I'll do some deep breathing, just get some sun. The weather's beautiful right now. But if I don't, I'll work straight through my day and I'll just forget to take a break. So you need to remind yourself to take that break, and set a timer. If you're crushed for time, say I'm gonna set this timer for 15 minutes so you can actually relax and breathe and not look at the clock. I do that, especially on really busy days. I do that.
Yep, me too.
So we had a question come in. It was directed to Dr. Karenko, but Dr. Mason, of course, chime in as well. But what would you recommend as a coping mechanism to manage your own mental health when you know others, coworkers, family members, whoever those others may be, are not telling the truth or are not doing healthy coping mechanisms?
Okay. First and foremost, it begins and ends with you. Okay. And where we talk about making sure that we're not pouring from an empty cup, and where Martha was talking about making sure, reminding you when you get on a plane, if something happens, you put the mask on yourself first, and then the person that you're seated with. It begins and ends with you. If you take care of your own mental health, you are essentially demonstrating to others what the expectation is and how important having that balance, having that sense of stability is. You can't control. I know in this day, holidays bring out the best and worst in people, right? And with this being an election year and so many things that have occurred, there's a lot of families that have become disjointed. There's a lot of friends who have become disconnected. And being able to just say, I'm grounding myself, okay, not like what your parents did to you when you were 30, okay, or when you were 15 until you're grounded till you're 30, but making sure that you really take a step back and you focus and you say, it begins and ends with me. And I'm going to demonstrate, I'm going to role play, I'm going to be an example. And it's funny because just as negativity is infectious, so is this, because people will remind that you'll know that you're making a difference when they say to you, how can you stay so calm? I had this happen yesterday with a couple people that worked here. It's like, you're in your zen. That's what Amanda Jackson told me. She says, you're in your zen. Yeah, you gotta be in your zen. You have to be in your zen. So perhaps thinking in terms of how it begins and ends with you, starting with you, and really setting the standard. You are, again, you're the giant green M&M to a lot of these folks. And if they see you in your zen, they're going to want some of that. Okay. Dr. Mason, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't know if there's any too much to add to that. You know, I tell people that it's, you know, none of your business what other people think about you, you know, or what other people do.
Yeah.
And that, you know, they kind of go, what, you know, but it's really not. What other people think and what other people do is their concern, and it does just begin and end with you. You can set your own example. And I'm not sure what the nature of the conflict is. I mean, sometimes by our actions, and we talked about that, how we can be off-putting to others or be snappy with others. So, you know, if I have regular contact with someone and I sense that something different's going on, I just do a check-in. You know, I just say, hey, you know, I haven't talked to you in a little bit or whatever. Is everything okay? You know, do you need to talk or anything like that? That opens the door for them to say, well, you know, you sent that email last week and I thought it was really hateful. And then you can clear the air, you know, maybe you didn't mean to be hateful. I think it's so hard to read a tone from an email or a text, and we can get ourselves in a lot of trouble with that. So that's why I just like to check in. But people can certainly hurt us with their words and their actions. And again, you know, it can be a broad question, not sure about the nature of the conflict. But yes, Dr. Karenko, I agree with you.
Okay.
It begins and ends with you.
Thank you. So we are really close to our 11 o'clock mark, but I have a question for our support coordinators, and I've had a few people ask for me to show how to get to the resources again. So Dr. Mason, I'm gonna take over control so that I can share my screen. And while I'm getting set up, for all of the support coordinators who are on the call, if you could, in the chat box, could you please send us the things that are causing you the most stress, the most anxiety, specifically about your job? We really are trying to tailor the trainings, the information, all of the material to support you right now. So drop them in the comments. I may reach out to you afterwards for clarity, but I know the big ones, but I'm also looking for maybe the more individualized stressors. Do you have a particular family or client that is causing undue anxiety that maybe we can provide you with some support in that way? So just think about that and send them to me, please. For those of you who were looking for the resources, so all of you should be able to see my desktop, the APD homepage, and from here there's actually a few ways to get there. So the easiest is on the homepage, right here, front and center, is our COVID information. And at the top of the paragraph, there's a first link. You can click that and it'll jump you right to where you need to go. If you're not on the homepage, say you've gone to another page and you still want to get to COVID stuff, up here on the news banner, you can also click COVID. So there's two ways to get there. I'm just going to click this one because that's what I'm on. This is the COVID homepage, so there are a ton of resources here. Feel free to go through them. There's announcements and toolkits and all that good stuff. But specifically, Dr. Mason and Dr. Karenko's resources are going to be found on the left-hand side right here. Click Mental Health, and their resources are here. We will be adding to this in the next day or two. So check back. We'll most likely have the full recording of today's presentation, but this video here, that one was a shorter one. I think it came in about 20 minutes. It was kind of like a short and sweet of this presentation that you guys got. So you guys got a lot more information, a lot more resources, so hopefully you'll refer back to ours. But in a pinch, you can go to the shorter one. And then all of these resources here, plus the handbook that we have attached on the webinar. If you haven't downloaded it yet, go ahead and grab it. If you miss it, it will be posted up here. Just give us, like I said, a day or two to get everything up and running. So that is the resources for today. I mentioned at the beginning that Dr. Mason and Dr. Karenko had also done 2 trainings for us a few months ago. And a lot of people turned out for it, but we got a lot of feedback asking for more information. So I just want to show you from our providers page, go down to support coordination. All of the materials and the recordings from past presentations I put on the support coordination page. So if you're looking for the trauma-informed care or the suicide awareness trainings that we did, scroll about halfway down and you're going to look here for previous webinar videos and here, WSC materials and Q&As. The videos are titled whatever they were titled for the webinar. So you'll see there's a lot of them here, but we're specifically talking about the suicide awareness and the trauma-informed care, but we have the other ones up. And then any materials, supplementary attachments that we shared, I put here. So take a look, there's a ton of resources here. So if you're looking for things, start there. If there's still things that you are looking for, maybe a specific topic, something more detailed, always reach out to me. I'll get in touch with Dr. Mason and Dr. Karenko, and we'll get you what you need. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you to all of you for joining. Thank you to Dr. Mason, Dr. Karenko for speaking today. I have read almost all the comments that came in, and I'm so glad that you guys joined us and found this to be a useful presentation.